Hey, what's up, guys? So as a former martial arts coach, I love using martial arts principles and applying them to the golf swing. It's a great way for me to learn and for me to get better because it's based on experience that I already have, but it's also something that I understand extremely well, so it allows me to kind of illustrate certain principles about the golf swing in maybe a slightly different way than most coaches would. So when I'm teaching martial arts, and especially when I'm teaching someone how to punch, one of the first things we talk about is the importance of the stance and the connection between the ground and the power that we're going to generate in the punch. It's a little bit counterintuitive for most people. Why? Because the punch is delivered with the arm. So a lot of people assume that most of the power comes from my ability to do this movement, right? But that's not true. The power of the punch actually comes from the ground. It comes from me pushing into the ground with this back foot. Once I push into the ground with my back foot, that energy travels all the way through my body. And if I time my movement sequence properly between the push, turning my hip, turning my core, turning my shoulder, and then firing the arm into the target, that's how I'm going to generate power with my punch. So as I started to learn more and more about the golf swing and the importance of that interaction between the ground and our feet, I started to realize that the exact same principle applies even though the movement is different. Why? Because most people, because we hold the club in our hands, I think a lot of us, me included, we focus way too much on what the upper body is doing, and we forget to really understand what's happening or what should be happening with our feet and our interaction with the ground. So one thing I always knew, and that I realized pretty early on, was that if I wanted to have a good solid backswing and feel a good strong connection to the ground, on my backswing, I wanted to feel the pressure in my right heel, my back foot heel, right? Because if I did that, then I felt like I was loading up that right glute. And based on everything I've seen so far about the golf swing, that's a good thing. You really want to load up that back leg, okay? Now, where I think I struggled and where a lot of people struggle is, okay, great, once I'm loaded up, but now what happens with my legs in order to create the speed and power I want on my swing? And here's what I figured out. Through watching some experts talk about this, especially Dr. Greg Rose from TPI, he was explaining how as you move into your downswing, you want to push your left heel or your front heel into the ground and almost create this kind of jumping motion. And by pushing that heel into the ground, that's what's going to generate the speed and the power on your downswing. It's like, okay, that's interesting. So on my backswing, I'm loading up with my back heel on my backswing, and then on my downswing, I'm pushing into the ground with my front heel. So that's a really simple concept as far as movement patterns are concerned, right? Because on my backswing, it's back heel, downswing, front heel. It's like, all right, well, what happens to each foot with the other one applying pressure on the heel? Well, the opposite happens. So as I'm bringing the club back, I'm putting weight on my back heel, and what happens to my front heel? My front heel actually wants to come off the ground. Some people actually get it off the ground, some people don't, but the weight actually moves into the toes on the front foot. And then on my backswing, as I'm pushing into the ground with my front heel, what happens to my back foot? Well, I move up onto my toes. So now it's even a simpler movement pattern, which is basically this and this, this and this. So on my backswing, heel and toes, back and front, and on my downswing, heel and toes, front and back. So now I have a drill that I can work on based on that very simple movement from heel to toe and toe to heel. So backswing like this, downswing like this. Heel, 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 heel. And so I just started doing this over and over again. Sometimes I'll do it kind of stiff to make sure that I feel very connected and very controlled. And sometimes I'll just be a little more relaxed and almost like just feeling that transition that's happening between the front and the back and the back and the front. Okay, so remember that. Again, this is a foundation drill. This isn't the entire swing. This isn't necessarily going to make a massive difference in your game. However, I think if we can build from the ground up, it makes everything else easier. So one more time on your backswing, push your back heel into the ground and you can almost feel your front heel wanting to come up. And on your downswing, push into the ground with your front heel and you'll feel your back heel want to come up. And then once you get into a full swing, just make sure you complete that movement so that you can add a little bit of reality to what is basically a foundation drill. And then once you're maybe at a driving range or you're hitting into a net like I am, try to focus on that. So I'll often do this right before I hit the ball, just to make sure that my feet are doing exactly what I want. Then I can set up at the ball, make sure I feel that weight in my back heel. Little trigger, backswing here, back heel, transition, front heel. And it just feels effortless when you do it properly. All right, so give that a try. Let me know how it goes. Have an amazing day. Peace.